Hey everyone, Amia here from Resonance Astrology and welcome to my channel. Today we are taking a look at the astrology of the week ahead from August 18th till August 24th, 2025. And this week starts off on a bit of a quieter note, although we have a super benefic, beautiful moon in Cancer in between Venus and Jupiter situation going on. And then the week builds also into, something really important because we are moving from Leo season into Virgo season with a very powerful new moon that sets the stage for September's eclipses. So this is kind of what awaits us, okay? This ending of August. Again, it's not fully the ending, right? Because we have one extra week left of August, but it's really preparing us to shift into September, to shift into Virgo season. Virgo is going to become extremely important after this week. So whatever house Virgo rules in your chart, keep a big eye out for that. Wait, sorry, there was just... Okay, I hope you didn't hear that because there was just a very loud helicopter flying and I sincerely hope you didn't hear that so much, so sorry. Anyhow, let's dive into the astrology of the week ahead, talking about Monday, August 18th. This is when Mercury in Leo sextiles Mars in Libra, and I do feel like now that Mercury is in its direct motion again, even though again traveling through the post-shadow period, but this could be a time to have some productive conversations around our relationships and maybe clear some stuff up if it hasn't already been cleared already. And then later on this day, the moon moves into Cancer, and the beginning is always a bit rough here, right? Because immediately the moon in Cancer squares Saturn, Neptune, and this time also Mars. So there is a bit of friction when it comes to our own emotions or how we might react or feel maybe extra sensitive. But then again, we move into August 19 and moon, first of all in Cancer, still in Cancer, officially enters into its balsamic or waning crescent phase. This is really the moon winding down before it before the new moon comes. It's the last phase. The balsamic moon phase is the last phase before we have the new moon. And there's a lot of people are why is it called balsamic? They think of aceto balsamico or something like that. But balsamic really comes from balm, is something soothing. It's the soothing phase and kind of the winding down phase where we are... how should I say it? It's surrendering and resting more. And it is kind of a balm put on us. And that's why I really love that also this is, we have the balsamic moon phase additionally when the moon is in that phase in between both of the benefic. Because this is kind of happening August 19th, August 20th. Here in Europe, officially, it's August 20th. In a lot of US... states and time zones, it is August 19th, so just keep August 19th and 20th in your mind, okay? Both of these days are kind of important, and it's very auspicious, the moon in its own domicile being put in between these, Jupiter in its exaltation and then Venus in Cancer somehow also just fits very well, it's a good uplifting midpoint energy for the moon to be in. And again, whatever house Cancer rules in your chart, you could really see something some sort of fruition coming upon us. Because Jupiter has been in Cancer for a bit longer now. Okay, it's not the mere beginning yet. So there is already some gestation that has been going on. And this could maybe be a real time where we see this first... maybe birthing moment or something that is going on of the visions that have kind of entered us, impregnated us ever since Jupiter moved into the sign of Cancer. Careful, just one kind of careful warning though, this can be, even though we're not talking Neptune here, but just because all of these together, it could be a bit of excess, could it be a bit of rose-colored glasses as well? And there's I have an astrologer friend, she's called, like, they're called Empress Atlantis on Instagram, and they're constantly doing these memes around, like, just telling people to use protection during that day. Because again, it is a fruitful aspect, okay? Like, it's also a wonderful aspect if you do actually genuinely want to get pregnant during that time. Like, that's a good fertile aspect for that. But, you know, if you don't want that, definitely be cautious around that time, because, again, the fertility is rising. So if you do not want to get pregnant, use protection in that sense. And also look out for, like, binge eating, overstuffing behaviors. I have noticed this in myself as well. I'm more of a, how do you say that? Like salty eater, savory, I guess is the word. But I have, and I didn't even notice that, it just, like, that realization came to me a few days ago that, oh damn, I really have, like, quadrupled my sugary intake. I've been eating so much more chocolate and sweets. Sweets I usually don't even eat or buy at the shop. Suddenly they're in my fridge and I've been eating them. So watch out for that, okay? Watch out for it, especially if you're somebody that is, you know, struggling maybe with weight, or maybe prone to any sort of, like, diabetes type of diseases. Just be a bit careful, because all of these three together can definitely kind of amplify that sugary craving and just, like, an abundance of food. And I made a post on Instagram last week about like the Venus Jupiter in itself conjunction, and I was just picturing, like, on an archetypal, I was picturing this banquet at the ocean. You know, this beautiful banquet of, like, food, and everyone's invited and everybody can just take what they need and be nourished and satiated. And again, that's good, but, you know, the boundaries can sometimes be a bit hard. Especially also we have Saturn still in Aries, which, you know, Saturn is about boundaries, but Saturn in Aries is in its fall. So it's not a Saturn that is necessarily very good at setting boundaries itself. It's more that with Saturn in Aries that, you know, things happen and then your body sets the boundaries for you. Like, you go too far, like you overeat, and now it's like, damn, okay, now I have disease potential, or I'm having a health scare. My body is setting the boundary for me. That's kind of what's going on with Saturn and Aries, to be completely honest, because it's harder for Aries to see, like, where exactly to stop and stop on its own. And that's kind of, again, why Saturn and Aries don't really work so well together, because Aries is this youthful energy, beginning of spring, and it's not really concerned with the end of life, because we're at the beginning of life, okay? And so when Saturn enters this youthful sign, it's very much like, wait, I gotta, like, you know, restrict myself or do these things. Like, I'm just beginning to live here. So, again, if we don't set boundaries ourselves, our body is going to do that, or our circumstances are going to do that. There's so many people when that Mars-Saturn opposition happened that got into some sort of accident. And what then happens, you know, if you break your leg, if you break your foot, if you break your arm, well, you are restricted. You can't do things anymore how you want it to. And even just breaking your small pinky finger or something, right? Like, you realize how much you actually need all of your fingers to do certain things. And yes, that's a lot of what Saturn Aries story is about. And yeah, sorry for digressing here a little bit, but this just kind of came up for me and I wanted to talk about it just because we have been so much in the trenches with Saturn and Aries, and Saturn is also slowly preparing to go back into the sign of Pisces. This is going to happen on September 1st, that Saturn moves back into Pisces, okay? But for now, Saturn is still in Aries. But now back to Tuesday, August 19th, just because there's one aspect we haven't talked about that is also occurring that day, and that is that the Sun in Leo is trining Chiron in Aries. And I do think there are themes of empowerment and healing through self-expression involved here. Just because a lot, like the whole journey, Chiron has been in Aries for a while, okay? And a lot of Chiron's journey through Aries, especially when it's hitting sensitive points in our chart, or every time there has been some sort of sensitive transits really hitting and highlighting the Chiron in Aries, there's lots of themes of like where were we not able to like these wounds around like where we have been stifled, where our self-expression has been stifled, or where we have lost power, where power is stripped and taken away from us. So when the Sun in Leo trines Chiron in Aries, there is like a big story of like, yeah, like, how can I take back my power? And actually, as a matter of fact, Saturn in Aries is also so much about taking back our power. So yes, this is kind of what we have going on Tuesday, August 19th and Wednesday, August 20th. And then Thursday, August 21st, we have the moon entering Leo, and it's the final days of Leo season. You know, the energy is warming up before we hit a shift. And then on Friday, August 22nd, the sun enters Virgo. So officially Virgo season begins, you know. So again, this is when the spotlight starts to hit your Virgo house in our charts. And then on Saturday, August 23rd, we have the Virgo New Moon, and this is happening at 0 degrees of Virgo, okay? So obviously the moon also has just moved into Virgo that day, and this is a very important new moon because it's one of 2 Virgo new moons that are happening. One of them, happening 1 month later, is an eclipse, okay? So we have a quote unquote normal Virgo new moon, and that one after is an eclipse. So, and I also think it's always interesting when we switch gears, right? This happens like once a year. Like we have 2 new or 2 full moons in one sign, and then like it changes gears, right? Because now we have always had at the beginning of the month, the new moon of that season, right? Because the new moon is always when the sun and the moon conjoin. And so we started off with a new moon. We ended the season of that sign because the full moon is when the moon and the sun are opposing each other. And now it's kind of switching, right? Because by the last days of Virgo season next month, okay, we have that eclipse still in Virgo. And so we're kind of starting off the new season first with a full moon, okay? Like the Libra season is going to start off with a full moon in Aries first, and then we're going to get the Libra new moon. So it's like an interesting gear switch here that is happening as well. Yes, this new moon is also, because it's at the beginning degrees, right? So it means that it's also going to square Uranus in Gemini. So it carries a very Uranian energy, this new moon. And it's also ruled by Mercury that is still in Leo, right? Still coming off of that post-shadow period. It's not fully out there yet. So there is a lot of like, you know, unexpected insights and unconventional beginnings that are probably happening around this new moon, and like just like a new chapter that is kind of unlocking around that time in our lives and in this Virgo sectors of our lives, right? Because regardless of that, we also have a whole story arc every time the nodes change signs, because the eclipses kind of always fall into the opposing signs. And yes, before anyone comments, there are out of sign eclipses. I'm very much aware of that. We're also going to have that next year in the beginning of the year, I think, if I'm not mistaken, where we're going to have also like because they're going to switch slowly next year into like Leo and Aquarius. So there's going to be out of sign eclipses when the nodes are not yet in the next signs, okay? So that happens, that does happen. But generally, the eclipses always happen where the nodes are at. So there's always like a story arc between this axis in our charts. And this time around, it's between Virgo and Pisces. And last year in September, we had the first Pisces eclipse. And actually, that's also the perfect example, right? Because that was also an out of sign eclipse. The nodes were still in Aries and Libra, but because the ecliptic line was so close by already to Pisces, we had that first Pisces eclipse already last year. And this is when things kind of got activated for the first time. Yes, and then obviously around when Pisces season was this year, which was like around March, we had the first set of both of these eclipses. And now we're also getting both of these eclipses in September, okay? And even though this is a Virgo new moon, it's an eclipse, just because that north node is already there, has been already there, and with Uranus, I don't know, I just feel like it's already carrying such an interesting signature and is definitely like going into the story arcs that we are having with these axes in our charts. Okay, so yes, be prepared to completely shift the way you think, like starting with this new moon with Virgo season and all of September. Okay, whatever you think right now, and this is going to highlight that Virgo house in your chart, like depending on where it's hitting, right? Like if it's hitting your 10th house, if Virgo is your 10th house, it's probably going to really shift the way you think about your work, what you want to do with your life, how you want to be in service, like what your vocation is. If it's happening in your 7th house, right? It's going to be very much completely shifting the way you think about romantic relationships, or maybe the way you think about your partner if you are in a relationship. If it's in your 4th house, I'm sorry, I'm just like talking about the angles right now. If it's happening in your and just because the angles are going to hit obviously the signs the most, because all the mutable signs, okay, like Sagittarius, Pisces, Virgo, and Gemini, the last mutable sign that I almost forgot. Like all of these signs are going to be affected the most by these shifts because it's going to happen in the angles. So if you're any of the risings of these 4 that I just mentioned, this is like gonna be groundbreaking. So again, and then 4th house, probably going to completely shift the way you think about your home, where you belong, your family. Maybe if you're moving out, things are going to happen. And then 1st house, it's going to shift your identity, how you view yourself. So yes, lots of restructuring of our thoughts going on here. What is also happening on Saturday, August 23rd, we have Venus in Cancer squaring Chiron in Aries. So there are tender themes around relationships, care, and vulnerability involved as well. And this might kind of lead into, because this is happening like at the Virgo new moon, like around the same date. So, and obviously everything that is traveling through Cancer is kind of influenced by what the moon is doing. So this is definitely like playing into that as well. And then on Sunday, August 24th, the sun in Virgo, of course, also going to square Uranus in Gemini. And this is a new yearly cycle, an aspect that we are beginning right now because we are not used to this, okay? When Uranus was in Taurus, we were used to, both of them were in a trine, right? Because both of them are earth signs. So the sun in Virgo was always trining Uranus and Taurus. Now that Uranus is in Gemini, the sun in Virgo is going to square Uranus and Gemini every year. So this is like a new way of thinking, like this is quite literally a shift in perspective. And sometimes that is all we need. Like a shift in perspective. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so again, just fueling into disrupting and awakening, like everything tied to Virgo themes in our charts. So again, whatever house Virgo rules in your chart, keep an eye out for that. And yes, so this week really sets the tone for the months ahead, and Virgo is becoming a very central player with Mercury still in post shadow. This new moon is asking us to be clear and to prepare, because by the time we reach the Virgo eclipse in September, so a month later, Mercury will be in Libra and the story will shift yet again. And like in between the eclipses, Mercury is also going to be in Virgo, okay? So Mercury is going to be in its home sign and sign of exaltation. So yes, the way we think is about to take a groundbreaking new approach. And yes, this is just to add a little preview for next Monday. sorry, not next month, but next week, but because on Monday, Mercury finally clears that post-shadow period and Venus also moves into Leo. So there's more to look forward to. And this is what I have for you guys this week. I hope you're enjoying everything so far. Virgo decans are about to come, okay? We're going to film the Virgo decans very soon, and this video should be uploaded very soon to this channel. So if you have any placements in the sign of Virgo, make sure to look out and check out that video, because you can learn so much more about your own chart if you know, like if you have the sun in Virgo, depending on if it's in the first 10 degrees, the middle 10 degrees, or the last 10 degrees of Virgo, it's going to be very, very different. And this is also why, you know, maybe you can't relate to all other Virgo suns, because they have their suns in different decans and it might express very differently. So definitely check out that video, especially if you have Virgo placements. And of course, we're also gonna have a workshop about the Virgo decans. It's gonna be by the mid next, like in September. Wait, sorry, let me just check that to give you the proper insight. That is gonna be, yes, September 14th is when we are gonna have the official Virgo Decans workshop. So I just wanted to, you know, give you that information so you know beforehand, and you will probably soon, the link to sign up will be up there. And I'm always looking forward to, you know, welcome you guys, because you can talk there about your birth chart. And yeah, so it's almost like a mini reading of understanding yourself better, okay? And it's like $11 to sign up. And we're definitely also going to put up like a mid-season discount if you want to join for every sign, just because we already are almost at the halfway mark. So if you still want to join, you get all the recordings and you can join all the new workshop at a discounted price. So keep your eyes out for that if you're interested. And with this, I'm going to leave you guys. Have a beautiful rest of the week. And yeah, summer, right? We're still in summer, even though Virgo is like the ending of summer, so we're probably already feeling summer ending. So yes, see you guys soon. Bye.